What's up, guys? This is Ryan, also known for Gator News. What's Gators doing? Sorry, I had to introduce with the music. Just thought it'd be a little catchier. I'm gonna do my picks for Week 4. I will get to the post game basically same day. Today's the 23rd. I'll have the post game today of the Tennessee, and I will have my predictions tomorrow. That said, sorry I had to. My mom was sick, and she stayed home, and Wednesday I just didn't have the time to do it. Alright, so here we go. Go ahead. Start off the picks. Tonight's game, Miami at Pittsburgh. Miami getting 3.5 points. This game's at 7:30. Obviously, Miami's going to come in there as the favorite. Pitt's going to be fired up at home on Thursday night, but honestly, I think Miami is just too good for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, all they have really is running, and if Miami can stop that, then they're going to win the game. So I have Miami in this one by 7 or 10. TCU at SMU on a Friday night. TCU getting 17.5 points. Sorry about this, guys. I'm having a little trouble in tying my shoes here. 8 o'clock. Obviously, Southern Methodist is going to try to put up a fight. They are very high-powered offense, but against this TCU defense, I don't know if they can just get that done. I had TCU actually covering the 17.5 spread, but I only had them win by 21. Austin Peay at Wisconsin. This is the first games of Saturday. Wisconsin getting 27.5 points at home. Austin Peay, no good. FCS team. Go ahead and pick Wisconsin. They'll probably win by 30. Ball State at Iowa. Iowa coming off that tough West Coast loss. Anytime an East Coast team goes to the West Coast, it's very tough to win, especially when you are in the top 10 going up against an underdog at night. They have 28.5 points against Ball State. I'm going with Iowa. Get a good rebound, get a good solid 35-point, 5-touchdown win against Ball State. Next is Bowling Green at Michigan. Michigan getting 23.5 points. I thought Michigan kind of showed off a weak showing against UMass, only winning it by 6. I think it's going to be the same way again. They're going to treat Bowling Green a little light. They have a very good offense. That MAC offense is really good, and Michigan doesn't have the greatest defense in the world as they showed against UMass. It's going to be the same way again. This time, Michigan probably wins, I say 40-20. But, obviously something that makes it so they don't cover. Northern Colorado at Michigan State. Michigan State 1.5 point favorites. I think they're going to do very well. They're going to try to represent their coach. Monday or after the game, Michigan State's coach had a heart attack after an exciting overtime win against Notre Dame. The fake field goal. And obviously Northern Colorado is just bad, so Michigan State 50-7 easily. USC at Washington State. USC favored by 23.5 points. They have not covered once this year, and that's going to continue to be that way. Washington State is very bad, but USC hasn't even proved themselves against Virginia, only winning by 3 against Virginia, and then not even scoring 20 points against Virginia. Washington State is probably one of the worst teams in the country that used to actually be one of the best. And obviously a home game, they're going to get fired up, and I think they're going to win. I actually think they're going to win. So, I'm going with Washington State. The game of the week, in my opinion, ESPN's not game of the week. Alabama at Arkansas, number 1 versus number 10. Arkansas coming off a very exciting road win against Georgia. Obviously, the Heisman contender Ryan Mallett, and they're going to try to upset one of their rivals, Alabama. At home, obviously Alabama's got all the disadvantages. Only a 6.5 point favorite, and I have Arkansas. I have Arkansas in the pool, but I don't think they're gonna win. I just think Alabama's somehow gonna get like a field goal at the end, like a lucky field goal, like they kind of did against Tennessee last year. Actually, they blocked a field goal. I think it's gonna turn out to be that kind of game, and I see Alabama winning like 24-21. It's gonna be a kind of defensive game, but not a high-scoring game, if you know what I'm saying. Eastern Michigan at Ohio State. Ohio State is favored, and this is the biggest spread I've ever seen so far this year. 42.5 to Ohio State. Yes, Eastern Michigan bad, but Ohio State can't even score barely 45 points in a game. So I actually have Eastern Michigan in this one. Stanford at Notre Dame. Stanford, a high-scoring, powerful team against Notre Dame's weak defense. They're only 3.5-point favorites. I think they're going to win. They're going to win by a touchdown or two. Temple at Penn State. Obviously, they play every year. Penn State, 17.5-point favorites, barely covering last week by 3 or 2. And this time they get Temple. Temple's has put up a fight every single year they play them. So I actually do think Temple is going to hold Penn State under the 17.5-point spread. I think Penn State's only going to win by 10 or something. But they're not going to cover. UCLA at Texas. This is the second straight matchup in a row. Obviously, UCLA coming off against a strong showing against Houston. Obviously, that's because of Chase Keenum's injury. Texas favored by 16.5. They have only covered once, but I think they're going to cover again. UCLA against Texas is very strong defense. It's just not going to do well, and then Texas's offense is just a little more high power than UCLA's defense. I see them winning by 20. Oklahoma at Cincinnati. This is actually going to be a pretty good game. Oklahoma coming off a strong showing against Florida State, a very weak showing against Air Force and Utah State. And I do think this game will be close until the fourth quarter, and Oklahoma will win 50 to 30 something, and they will cover. Kentucky at Florida. This is our game. Florida only favored by 14.5. Kentucky with a very good running offense. Florida, I think, is going to win 30 to 40 to 10, in my opinion. I'll be going to that game as well. And yeah. By the way, leave in the comments, giving me if I should, record live at the game or something. Like, I just record at the game, and then as soon as I'm done recording, I just upload it, if you want me to kind of do that. I'll do it from my cell phone, my Droid. If you want me to do that, leave comments below saying you do. South Dakota State.
2:45.
Sorry about that. South Dakota State at Nebraska. Nebraska coming off a very big showing against Washington. South Dakota State obviously beat Minnesota, but they're not going to beat Nebraska, and Nebraska is going to cover the 28.5-point spread. Hope we can get this done. South Carolina at Auburn. It's going to be a very good game. Another SEC matchup. South Carolina obviously with a very great defense. Auburn with a very great offense. I just think South Carolina is a little bit better than Auburn, and I think South Carolina will be able to pull this one out. I'm thinking a 14-10 victory, covering by 1 at the 2.5 spread. Oregon State at Boise State. Boise State 16.5-point favorites. I actually think Oregon State is going to show a strong showing. They're going to improve themselves. That we can play these teams. We can play these little non-BCS conference teams, but obviously I think Boise State is just way too powerful for Oregon State. I'm seeing a 40 to 30 or 30 to 20 type score. Boise State winning. San Jose State at Utah. Utah barely covered last week against New Mexico. This weekend they play a better San Jose State team. San Jose State picked over Utah. Utah is favored by 32.5. Way too much. West Virginia, LSU. LSU, a very good team. This is actually a matchup that a lot of people were looking forward to a couple of years ago, thinking that both of those teams will still be as good as they were a couple of years ago. Obviously, I do think LSU's speed is way too good for West Virginia's speed. LSU's offense is way too good for West Virginia's defense, and LSU's going to win by 10 or 14 against West Virginia. California at Arizona. Arizona coming off that very big victory against Iowa, and I do have them covering the 6.5-point spread over Cal. Cal's not that great, and Arizona's too good on offense. Don't have much time, so I want to finish this. Oregon at Arizona State. Oregon over Arizona State. Oregon's offense is way too good for Arizona State's defense, and Oregon's just a high-scoring team. They're going to win easily over that 10.5-point spread. Okay, guys, I'm Ryan. This is Florida Gator News, and I'm out. Hopefully you enjoyed the picks. I'm out. Peace.